The Democrats just made the biggest strategic blunder in modern political history, and it's already blowing up in their faces spectacularly. Stick with me to the very end of this video because we're going to find out precisely why the Democrats have already lost. While Chuck Schumer throws his tantrum and shuts down the government, he's unknowingly handed President Trump the ultimate weapon to destroy the deep state and the Democrats once and for all. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, back in the studio after 10 glorious days in the amazing land of Scotland. But I'm back to help you make sense of the madness as the far left desperately tries to stop the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age all over the world that you're making happen. So if you want a front row seat on how you are changing the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. And you are literally changing the world. You're going to love this. On our bus ride from Glasgow to Edinburgh. So this was a charter bus that runs from Glasgow bus station to the airport in Edinburgh, our last day in Scotland. My wife and I were sitting in the front row of the bus. We were the first ones to get on. And this absolutely joyful, radiant bus driver, an elderly Scotsman, got in, stood in front of us all, and introduced himself as Pastor Steve. He said he's a part-time pastor and he fills in for bus drivers on occasion for the company. And he just welcomed us all on his bus. And if there was anything he could do for us, just let him know. So being in the front row, we struck up a conversation and I asked if he was a pastor in the Presbyterian church. And he said, no, I'm Pentecostal. And I said, oh, wow. And he said, yeah, holy rollers, right? You don't see that every day in the British Isles. And he said, actually, charismatics and Pentecostals have been growing by leaps and bounds throughout the UK. He's seen it firsthand. His ministry is exploding. And then he asked where we were returning to, and he found out my wife and I were going back to the States. He immediately brought up Charlie Kirk. I kid you not. He said he and his wife and much of his church, they all watched the entire memorial service, and they knew that at that moment, watching that service, that God was sending a revival not just to the United States, but throughout the UK and Europe as well. Gang, this was our freaking bus driver. That's who you and your prayers, that's how you are changing the world like you never even imagined. So it is wonderful to be back with you all. And it is wonderful to see the demonic Democrat Party literally implode into political dust. So as I'm sure you all know by now, Senate Democrats have blocked a clean continuing resolution that would have kept the government open for 7 more weeks. Now, make sure you understand that this is the exact same clean, nonpartisan CR that Chuck Schumer himself voted for back in March, calling it, quote, the right thing to do. The exact same CR. But now the Democrats caved to their most radical, self-destructive wing and voted 55-45 against it, falling short of the 60 votes needed to overcome the Senate filibuster. But here's the kicker. Take a look at this. According to the New York Times polling, 65% of Americans, including nearly half of all Democrats, completely oppose this Schumer shutdown strategy. Now, once again, we're looking at yet another example of the Democrats finding themselves on the wrong side of the 80-20 doom loop. It literally doesn't matter what they do or say. They are constantly staking their flags in one of the most unpopular side of every single political issue out there. They're for defending open borders. They're for defending illegal migrants. They're for defending violent criminals. They're all for defending DEI, defending trans athletes in women's sports. They're doubling down on their Nazi rhetoric, their fascist rhetoric, which they have to because they have no issues. They literally have 0 positive issues to run on. So they have no other choice than to go with Trump as Hitler. And now they're overtly on the side of shutting down the government, which a supermajority of the country opposes, and which Democrats like Chuck Schumer opposed literally just months ago. Here's Speaker of the House Mike Johnson.
Credit President Trump, showing real leadership. He's operating in good faith, and that was on display by bringing the leaders in. He heard the arguments and the debates. They're baseless. I mean, Chuck Schumer is now arguing exactly the opposite of what he has always said in his career. And why? You hit the nail right on the head, Sean. He's doing it out of political desperation. He is willing to force the government to shut down just to oppose President Trump for temporary political cover for himself. And he will abandon the American people just to do that. It's really something to watch.
He's right. They really are the gift that just keeps on giving. There is simply no need to defeat your enemy when they're in the process of destroying themselves. And that is exactly what's happening here. Chuck Schumer knows that if he blinks on this like he did in the last shutdown scare, his days in the Senate are over. His career is gone. He'll be dethroned, as it were. He'll be primaried out of his seat by AOC. All the polls showing her in the lead, were she to challenge Schumer in a senatorial primary in New York, all those polls have been weaponized by the most extreme wing of the Democrat Party to force Schumer to shut down this government. And so in doing so, I wonder if he's aware that he is basically burning down the entire Democrat Party and at the same time giving President Trump everything he wants. That is exactly what Speaker Johnson said as well. In the end, this Schumer shutdown doesn't just hurt the Democrats politically. It literally ends up giving President Trump maximum power to enact the MAGA agenda on the whole of the federal government. Wait until you see this. But first, gang, I do need to tell you about something that's been a game changer for my research process. Did you know that most methylene blue being sold online is the same grade used in fish tanks? I kid you not. Watch out for low-quality bottles that are untested for heavy metals and made overseas. Instead, you can trust the wellness company's Recharge, a doctor-formulated supplement combining powdered methylene blue with NAD+ and PQQ. This methylene blue is USP grade, ensuring top-tier purity for maximum safety and effectiveness. In other words, it ain't sketchy stuff you're going to find on Amazon. You know what I'm saying? Recharge is formulated with research-backed ingredients to optimize brain function and cellular repair while supporting clean, lasting energy. Tap into cognitive and metabolic support that helps you stay energized, focused, and resilient all day long. Choose a trusted formula made for your body, not for fish tanks. Feel the difference with enhanced mental clarity, sustained energy, sharper focus, and protection against cognitive decline. And no, it won't turn your tongue blue. Head on over to twc.health/Turley and use code Turley to get 15% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/Turley. Use code Turley to get 15% off.
The president and I have talked about this at great length. While a shutdown is very damaging for real American people who depend upon government services, it can provide an opportunity to downsize the scope and the scale of government, which is something that we've always wanted to do. And so in a way, Chuck Schumer has now handed the keys to the kingdom to the executive branch under President Trump to do some things that we would not otherwise be able to do because we would never get Democrat votes for them. Now, Russ Vought is in charge, as you know, of the Office of Management and Budget, and it is his responsibility to look at all of this and make very difficult choices. He gets to decide now what services are essential, what programs and policies should be continued, and which would not be a priority for taxpayers. That is what is about to happen, and Chuck Schumer has allowed that. And so from his political perspective, it's a pretty massive backfire. And there's a real opportunity for government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people if those decisions.
So this is President Trump's secret weapon, Russ Vought, director of the Office of Management and Budget and key architect of Project 2025. Now, while Democrats are busy virtue signaling in all the fawning legacy media outlets that no one watches anymore, Trump has positioned his most dangerous weapon, Russ Vought, to execute the most devastating government restructuring in American history. Now, as you just heard Mike Johnson say there, with all non-essential departments immediately shut down, the management and authority over the day-to-day federal affairs moves over to the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget. And what the OMB now has the power to do are things like impose mass layoffs And the key here is that unlike previous shutdowns, where federal employees were simply furloughed and later got back pay, Vote has already directed agencies to implement permanent reduction in force layoffs during the shutdown. So technically, this is not temporary. These aren't layoffs. These people are getting fired permanently. Secondly, the OMB can implement strategic target selection. Vote has ordered all government agencies to identify programs that either lapse in a shutdown or don't meet up with Trump's policies. And what this amounts to is basically a kill list for the deep state bureaucracy. And thirdly, the OMB can implement DOGE integration throughout the federal government. Their goal was to cut 300,000 federal employees by year's end. Thanks to the Democrats, thanks to the Schumer shutdown, Vote is going to get exactly that. Plus the elimination of entire useless government agencies. And even the New York Times is now admitting the Democrats have just stepped in it. They have just inadvertently triggered a full implementation of the very Project 2025 they so desperately feared and campaigned against. Would that not be the epitome of irony? That everything Project 2025 sought to implement got triggered precisely because of the Democrats' own political degeneracy? Well, that is exactly what appears to be happening right now as we speak. It's not coincidental that this is all happening against the backdrop of 100,000 federal workers resigning en masse as of yesterday, the single largest federal resignation in U.S. history. It's all part of Trump's furlough program. So these were workers that agreed some months back to resign on September 30th, the day before the deadline for a new CR. So all of this suggests that the entire world that the Democrats have built over the last 90 years in D.C. since FDR is literally imploding right before their very eyes. And to make matters even worse, their own voters look as if they're blaming their own pathetic Democrat leadership for that very collapse, which only means that this party will continue to hemorrhage support and hemorrhage voters. The era of the Democrat Party is over, gang. Looking back, today may indeed be the first official day of MAGA dominance in D.C. for generations to come. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. As I say, always, you're the ones who are changing the world. I want to hear what you have to say. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button for breaking news and analysis you're not going to hear anywhere else. Love you guys. God bless. Do you want to ask me your biggest questions and maybe win free merch while you're at it? Well, join my Courageous Patriot Club and be part of the uncensored Monday night Q&A, all for only $10 a month at turley.pub/club.